Excellent. So now, CABI. I just wanted to present CABI very quickly to you. It's a not-for-profit organization. And actually, we address global issues and concerns of food and security and environment via science and information and communication. Has been established 1910 by a United Nations Treaty, and it focuses on agriculture and environment and their derivatives. It's owned by 48 member countries. We have over 400 staff around the world in different locations. As you can see, we have big offices in Switzerland, in Britain, in Kenya, in Pakistan, in India. So we've got a variety of offices in Malaysia, Ghana, so from developed and developing world. And this is an example of these countries like Switzerland, China, UK, Kenya, and so on. Canada. What we do, we focus on international development, where we do a lot of hands-on projects like PlantWise. Please go online and look into PlantWise and you understand what sort of project international development we push and work with farmers on the ground to develop them and set up plant clinics and plant doctors in those countries with the help and support of ministries of agriculture. Using with that our publishing content, where we have different types of content, from ebooks, printed books, journals, databases, PRA, pest risk analysis, compendium, e-learning, and so on. So the ebooks in the publishing, as I said, we have different type of content, online resources and ebooks. We produce over 70 books a year, and we have over 930 ebook now available, and we have databases, as you could see. We have more than 13 million records, and over 500,000 are in full text. The CABI Academy, which is new, where it basically focuses on the e-learning part of CABI, where we have two main products, where we call them the crop pest diagnosis and crop pest management. They compromise into competency framework for practice. They are linked to curriculum, and they have face-to-face courses as well. So they are crop pest diagnostics and crop pest management, as I said. At the moment, the crop pest diagnostics is available in English and Spanish, but management is only available in English. So the databases are 83% journals. We have grey literature and conferences, but mainly journals and books. These are the subject areas that we cover and focus on. As you can see, animal sciences, plant sciences, forestry, aquatic sciences, environmental, food, human, and tourism. And here is some breakdown of sub-subjects of the main subjects we cover. So take an example, animal sciences, you can see at the back, animal nutrition and animal parasitology and ecology and so on, animal breeding. And if you go to plant sciences, as you can see again, so plant nutrition, plant pests, and so these are subject areas, sub-subjects that we cover in our databases. Forestry, aquatic sciences, environmental sciences, food sciences, human sciences, and tourism. Finally, we're going to talk about the geographic coverage of our content. As you can see, over 70% is from the Western world, but also we do have quite big number of different parts of the world, like Middle East and Africa. So I'd like to thank you very much for this, you patient, for the quick presentation. So back to Mr. Sayed now to finish the third part of his series, which is an exciting part. Sayed, if you don't mind as well, if you may tell them about the next coming sessions briefly at the end. So at least who missed the last two sessions, they can come back. But also the nice different sessions that we're preparing for the next 2 weeks, if they are different from how to publish, where they're really nice and exciting. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Brahim, for the nice and quick introduction to CABI, as usual. And I would like to welcome you all to this third and last session of our series on navigation of international publication. This series of workshops is planned or intended for early career faculty and researchers and students to support them in navigating the publication internationally, especially for those who are experiencing this journey for the first time. Previously, we had two sessions, and this is the third one. If you missed any of the previous ones, you will have a chance to come back and to participate in the next round, which is going to be in a month from now, because starting next week, we will have another series of workshops. It's gonna focus on how to write grant proposals. So it's gonna be a series of 4 workshops, and again, we're gonna break the process down into 4 stages. And we'll try to share all the advices that we could share in each of those stages with you. So if you missed any of the previous workshops on navigation of international publication, you will find them available for one more time before the end of this year. It's going to be in a month from now. And if you are interested in learning about how to write grant proposals, that means you have a chance to join us starting next week. And again, welcome to this series. So let's continue our journey. If you haven't been with us, just to give you a little bit of background very quickly, we are discussing in this series of workshops the whole or the entire journey of publishing internationally. Starting with the motivations, why we want to publish internationally, and then how to select the research point and how to conduct it in such a way that satisfies the international publication standards, and then how to select the appropriate journal for publishing your research, and why it is important to select the journal very early on so you don't have to do the work twice, so you can write in that format from the beginning. Last session was devoted entirely for writing the manuscript. We broke it down into all its components, and we talked about each of those components, how and we had some hands-on exercises just to train ourselves on how people are let's say evaluating your manuscript, and when you have that experience yourself, then that puts you in a better position when you are writing. It was a very intensive workshop. If you haven't been able to participate in it, you are invited to join us in the next round. Today, we are gonna talk about some very interesting stage of publishing internationally, which is what happens after you finish writing your manuscript. What happens after that? So we're gonna discuss about the submission process, the peer review, and when we cover the peer review, we will discuss the peer review in details with the appropriate understanding of what the peer review means and how it should look like. And then eventually we're gonna finish the workshop with how to make sure that you, after publishing, you were able to deliver the impact that you intended to do when you started, getting motivated about publishing internationally. This workshop is gonna be very very fruitful. I hope we have a lot of experiences that we will try to share together. So please be as attractive as you could, and maybe if you are listening to this in the background, you will have a chance to have some very good and hands-on participations. So maybe get yourself ready for that. So starting with submission. What makes our submission of a manuscript a successful one? This is a good question, because this is the first stage of your manuscript being presented or being seen by editors and by review. So here is, prior to this step, your manuscript is in your hands. From now on, it's moving out of your hands. It's going out to reviewer. And if I may ask you guys, please mute your microphone, because I feel like there are some of us that are not, and that might be distracting to others too. So if you could kindly mute your microphone, that will be really appreciated. We have two members that are using their microphone now, which it will be appreciated if you kindly mute your microphone. Maima, I think, and someone with Galaxy A30. If you could kindly do so, that would be really appreciated. Thank you. The first advice, or not advice, it's the first requirement for a successful submission, is that the submission should adhere to the journal's guidelines for submission. And the reason for that is, when you adhere to the journal's guidelines, you are sending a very good positive message to the editor from the first moment he sees your manuscript, that you are doing your share. You're doing your best. You are trying hard to get your work published. In other words, you're not lazy. You're not lazy, and you already checked the guidelines of the journal and you applied them. And each journal has its own guidelines, and it's not a secret that they are not hidden in their website. They are clear on the homepage. If we take the CABI Agriculture and Bioscience Journal as an example, and we talked about this in the previous two sessions, it's an open access journal that was launched last year by CABI. And if you take a look at the website, you see the guidelines, the submission guidelines, very clear up there. If you click that, the submission guidelines, you will have some detailed requirements and guidelines for how your manuscript should look like when the journal receives it. And if you don't follow those guidelines, you're sending a negative message from the beginning. You're sending the journal's editor and maybe associate editor some bad signals about your work, which is not good. You want them to see you as someone who pays close attention to details, and someone who follow the rules and check for guidelines and do the best for making their submission look the best. And when we neglect the guidelines of the journal, the submission for the journal, most likely it's an invitation for the editor to give us what they call the desk rejection, which is getting your manuscript rejected by the editor directly once they see it, instead of having a chance or having the chance for the manuscript to go through the peer review process and get some feedback. So check the guidelines. I'm not going to do the demo and go to the journal just to save your time, but I advise you to go to the journal that you are intending to submit to and check their guidelines, see what exactly they're looking for. The other component of the submission is the cover letter. Most people would would submit a cover letter. What is the cover letter? A cover letter is a precise and concise letter that conveys information that is relevant, but it cannot be presented in the manuscript itself. Like awards that has been received, that this research has have received previously, or if this work includes student research, or maybe if this manuscript is one of 2 twin papers, one of which probably have been published in that journal. Or if this manuscript is a resubmission that for a manuscript that has been rejected with a resubmission recommended before. And we will get a clear idea about what these terms mean in few minutes. So please write an efficient cover letter. Try to highlight why this manuscript should be published in this particular journal. Why? Try to convince the editor that they should be publishing this research in their journal. What if we don't have something that you want to cover in this regard? Well, okay, it's okay. You can just write a brief cover letter, but don't make it too long, and at the same time, don't skip it. Don't skip it. It's your chance to help the editor and the viewers and the reviewers, know more about your research and your manuscript. Avoid disk rejections, and again, disk rejections is rejections from the editor without having without receiving any feedback from reviewers, because the manuscript is not gonna make it to reviewers at all. The editor is gonna look at it and then decide, well, maybe that's not for our journal, and it's gonna be rejected. The only good thing about the disk rejection is that they don't take too long. Depending on the journal, it might be like few hours after submission to maybe a few weeks after submission. And the status of the submission on the journal's database or on your account on the publisher's website is not going to change. It's going to be with editor, received, then with editor, and then it's not going to go anywhere. Then you will see a decision coming back with rejection. Why do people receive the disk rejections? There are main reasons for that. The main reasons are that you are not submitting the right type of journal, the right type of research or manuscript to the right type of journal. Like if you submit a research paper to a journal that publish review articles, or maybe a methodology paper that publish review articles, or maybe a basic research manuscript to a journal that focuses only on applied research. So it's very important to check the scope of the journal and the type of manuscripts published in that particular journal. The other reason for the disk rejections is the journal's scope, which means the topic that you are investigating in your research that you're trying to publish, and how it is relevant or not relevant to the journal's scope. So, for example, if you're submitting something, let's say, to the journal of, let's say, agricultural water management, you're studying something about water, but it's not in an agricultural context. If you send something like that to the journal, they will say, well, it's a good piece of research, but we need to have some plant component in your research to be published in our journal. So it's very important to check the scope of the journal. Maybe take a look at the last few issues, what kind of topics they are publishing there, and also you could easily know which journals are interested in your topic by checking which the papers that you are citing in your manuscript, where they have been published exactly. Because if you are citing, let's say 5, 10 papers from one journal, that means probably you should consider that journal seriously when you submit your manuscript. So these are the main reasons. Some other reasons for disc rejections is when the submission shows careless writing, like you're not using the template, you're not using the writing style is not really good. The figures are primitive, they're not well presented. These are the kind of things that the editors look for. So initially they look at the title, then the abstract, and maybe they skip to the results to take a look at the figures and the results, how they are presented. And these three components make them shape their decision whether to reject it as disc rejection, or maybe think about it more, or maybe pass it to the subject area editor. And we will know what the subject area editor in a minute. So these are the main advices. The other thing that you need to pay attention to is the proper file format. So if the journal is providing a template for the text file or the body, the manuscript body, you must use it. You must use it because that standardized things for the journal, and also the reviewers are anticipating to receive the manuscripts in that format. And when they see something different, it takes them more time to sift through. So by using their template, you're putting yourself in the category that is perceived by them as the hard working, researchers who pay attention to what is required from them. The second point about the format is the figure files. Pay attention to the figure size, resolution, and the file type. And they have, if the journal has specific requirements for those, make sure you satisfy them. Make sure you provide figures in the appropriate size, appropriate resolution, and the appropriate file type. And I think we have covered some of that when we were talking about writing too. But when you are going to submit, you have to do this review to make sure that you actually did all these steps. So here we're talking about double checking ourselves and making sure that we did our share. Most of the journals, if you are using human subjects, most journals will ask you to provide some approvals, or they will require you to have received some approval prior to starting the study. Those approvals are intended to be to protect humans if you are studying them. And in some cases, people might think that, okay, if I'm not giving people drugs or something like that, that means I'm not required to have ethics and approvals. And this is not always the case. For example, if you are gonna collect information from people, like by conducting surveys or something like that, you might be required to have approvals, ethics approvals for that. In one of my projects as a postdoc in the US, I had to take the human subject training prior to join the lab or to be named on the project, because there were some component in which we will send some surveys to collect feedback from people. And I wasn't able to get on board prior to receiving that training and to having to receive that approval. So make sure that you get those approvals timely, and you want them to be documented, not verbal. So you have there should be some documents that you receive for that. Also, if you are doing some international collaboration, receiving approvals somewhere else where the research is not going to be conducted is not enough. So let's say if I'm collaborating with someone in the US and they receive research ethics approvals for human subject there, that doesn't make me in the right place if I don't receive those approvals here. So it should be received where the study is conducted, and all these approvals should be obtained prior to the starting the study. So don't wait until the submission and then say, okay, I will need some approvals. Let's go ask for them now. And if you are gonna use human subjects, also you might need appropriate consents. So they need to agree of being used as part of your research. The consents could be consents for participation, just to participate in the study. And also, if you are gonna publish the results, especially if they have something that could be identity revealing, you must receive written consent from them for publication. And the consent for publication is very important, especially when there is something that reveals the identity of different entities, and not only people, but it might be also companies or manufacturers and stuff like that. Sometimes if you say, I studied this product in this country, this sentence alone might be revealing the identity of the producer. So these are the kind of things that you will need to pay attention to. Again, you might need to get the approvals from the funding agency for publishing, because and especially if they have conditions for that. For example, I have a project in which the funding agency is requiring me to receive their approval prior to submitting the manuscript. And because the submission date is time stamped, you cannot change it. You have to make sure that you receive the approval prior to that date, because it's going to show up in your manuscript when it is published. So they're going to say, oh, yes, we received it that date. And if that is before the date in which you received the approval from the funding agency, that might be a violation of your contract there. If you take care of these points, you are maximizing your chances for your manuscript to make it to reviewers and not to stay there with the editor and come back to you as a disk rejected manuscript. When submitting, try to use one account per publisher to make sure that your information are stored in the same place. As you know, publishers publish more than one journal, and usually they have a common submission system that scientists use across different journals. So make sure that you use the same account, because that creates a footprint for you. As they see your data aggregated in one account, they see how many papers you published and how many reviews you've made for the publisher. All these information is good to be collected in one place and also to be attached to your submission, because these are things that when people see attached to a submission, they realize that yes, this person is not someone who's new in the field. If we gave him that many papers to review before, that means he's someone who's prominent in his field. If you don't have one, simply set yourself up with a new one. And the steps from now on differ from one journal to another. However, it's all, they have some generic components like inserting your information, the co-authors' informations, the affiliations, the author's orders, who's the corresponding author, and then uploading your files and in the appropriate format. And if there are any consents that are required at submission, they will ask you to upload those too. And if you do so, I think you are in a good shape, and all the best in the next steps. After submitting your manuscript successfully and appropriately, the peer review is going to start. And this is the stage that most people fear. And usually, as you know, we typically fear what we don't know and fear what we don't understand. And once we understand the process, most of that fear goes away. And that's what we're going to try to cover here. We will try to share as many information as we could, and as many experiences as we could with you in such a way that you feel like, yes, this doesn't, there is nothing to be afraid of there. It's a manageable stage. It's a stage that we can navigate easily. So what is the peer review? First, because if we know and we have a good understanding of the peer review, we will have success in navigating it. So the peer review is something good. The peer review is a process that is meant to improve the validity of your manuscript, the readability of your manuscript, and the usefulness of your manuscript, which means it's a very positive process. And if you approach the peer review with this concept in mind, I am sure you will make the most out of it. So if you approach the peer review as an opportunity for improving your manuscript, everything changes. So what do we mean by improving the validity? The peer review process is intended to make sure that your conclusions and your research results are valid both ethically and technically, ethically and scientifically. If it means that if you are publishing something that you are supposed to be approved for studying in the first place, that means you have those approvals. So you are qualified. And if you have claims, conclusions that would change something in your field, that means those conclusions or those recommendations are valid based upon the results, and the data actually supports them. It's intended to improve the readability of the manuscript, meaning that you will receive some advices on how to make your manuscript being read easily, make all the ideas flow and people can read your manuscript and actually enjoy reading it instead of having it being difficult to read. And also it is meant to make or maximize the usefulness of your manuscript. You will receive some advices that would actually make your analysis of your results really support your claims. They will say, okay, if this is what you're trying to recommend, probably you should analyze the data this way, which means that you know, you should receive advices that make your manuscript more useful to readers to read. The peer review process has a bigger meaning than what we actually think of once we hear this this name. People, once we hear the peer review, actually we think of the post-submission peer review alone, which is just one stage out of 4 stages of the peer review. The process is bigger than that. The process is bigger than that, and the success of the peer review is bigger than the success at the post-submission peer review. So let's talk about these stages very quickly. So there is the pre-submission peer review, which is the first stage of peer review that should take place before you submit your manuscript to the journal. Then the post-submission peer review, which takes place after the editor passes your manuscript to the reviewers. Then the production review, and here we don't say peer review because actually those who are reviewing the manuscript for production, they're not peers, which means they don't have to be in the same field. And then the post publication peer review, which means that after having the manuscript published and being made available to everyone, there should be some sort of peer review there too. And we're going to talk about each of these stages one by one. We're going to start with the pre-submission peer review. What is the pre-submission peer review? It's getting your manuscript reviewed both linguistically and technically or scientifically by the co-authors, who are your colleagues who are co-authoring the manuscript, and their names is on the manuscript. It could also be reviewed by colleagues in your lab or in your department, but their names are not going to be on the manuscript as co-authors. Or maybe a publishing mentor who is someone that you trust, someone who are more senior in the career than you, that you go back to and you seek advice from, especially related to publication here. And also you could seek some professional peer submission, pre-submission peer review, like if you submit your manuscript to a publishing agency that provides editing, technical or linguistic editing for the manuscript prior to the submission. Some of these are free or paid. For example, in Egypt, the Egyptian Knowledge Bank, something like that, for free for each author once a year. And it could be paid, so maybe you could include some of the costs that goes to the professional editing for your manuscript in your projects when you write them. So all these are meant to improve your manuscript prior to submitting them to the then once you have that done, and then the manuscript is ready to be submitted, the next stage starts, which is the one that most of us think of when we hear the peer review process. The post-submission peer review has different levels of openness and transparency. The most common one is the single-blinded peer review, which is the reviewers know the identity of the authors, but the authors don't know who is reviewing their manuscript. In this case, you know, there are some openness and transparency, but it's not complete. The double-blind peer review, everything is hidden. So neither the authors nor the reviewers know each other. So everything is being done anonymously. The transparent review is where the reviews, let's say the anonymous reviews are published alongside with the manuscript. So it's a more open and transparent version of the single-blinded review. The open review is it provides the most openness and the most transparency of all, where you can see the initial submission and the reviews, and know who's submitting what and who's providing these reviews, and then see the different versions of the manuscripts each time they are revised and submitted, alongside the published version of the manuscript, which is the most open stage. And definitely each one of those comes with the pros and cons and positives and negatives of it. But be aware of the type of peer review that the journal you're submitting to is following. So what happens after we submit our manuscript? Basically, after we finish writing our manuscript, anyone who is co-authoring a manuscript must have reviewed the manuscript as a pre-submission peer review and agreed to submitting it the way it is. Then one of the co-authors is gonna take the lead on submitting the manuscript, and this co-author is gonna be called the corresponding author. He's the one that's gonna communicate, is gonna submit the manuscript, and he's the one that's, or she, he or she is the one that's gonna communicate with the editor or subject area editor, as we will know in a minute. So the rule here is to coordinate the co-author's efforts, submit the manuscript, and then respond to editors after seeking feedback from the co-authors. When the manuscript is submitted, usually it goes to the editor-in-chief if the journal is a big one with a different with an editor-in-chief and different subject area editors. Sometimes you have only one editor for the journal, especially if it is very specific or if it is a new journal. So the editor-in-chief accepts and rejects manuscripts, and when he or she sends rejection, in this case, it's called the desk rejections, as we talked before. And if the journal is big and there are sub areas under the journal's, area of scope, and you might have editors where those editors is the journal's expert in that area. So that's why it's called subject area editors. Sometimes they call it associate editors, and if the journal is publishing a special issue, the editor in this case is called guest editor, and again it's some sort of a subject area editor too. The rule of the subject area, he or she could accept or reject. In this case, it's going to be disk rejections if it is rejected. And then the rule for the subject area editor is to seek reviewers and assign the paper to them and take decisions on whether to accept or reject the manuscript. Sometimes if there are some difficulties, the subject area editor might communicate that to the editor-in-chief. So sometimes you get communications from the subject area editors, and sometimes you get communications from the editor-in-chief. And we will see in the examples that we will look at some cases that shows these different routes of communication. If the paper looks good to the subject area editor, he or she is gonna assign the reviewers. Once they accept the paper, the status is gonna change to be under review. So they are subject area experts, and they're gonna review the manuscript. They should provide some feedback that would improve the manuscript, and at the same time, they're gonna provide a recommendation about the decision to the editor, subject area editor. The subject area editor is gonna accept or reject their recommendation and is gonna accept or reject the paper based upon what they have seen themselves and from the reviews that comes from the reviewers. So this is the review process, and usually we don't communicate to reviewers, and reviewers do not communicate to authors or co-authors. They communicate only through the editor and editor-in-chief. And the same thing to the corresponding authors. If the paper, after a couple of rounds here, once the paper reaches an acceptable phase, then it is being sent to the production, and we will know what the production process means in a minute. Sometimes you might receive some communications from managing editors. The managing editors are not peers in terms of they're not in the same field. They could be their role is to link the publisher and the editor together. They try to promote and do marketing for the journal, so their backgrounds and their expertise are coming from a different area. Therefore, their qualifications are quite different. So they're not the appropriate people to communicate to if you have some scientific thing that you want to convey to the journal. So when you submit the manuscript, you get a decision from the editor. What are those decisions and what do they mean? And this is a very, very key area that we need to have a good understanding for. Actually, if the paper is not reviewed and if it is receiving direct rejection from the editor because it's not publishable and it doesn't meet the basic requirement, you will receive a disk rejection. Sometimes you receive a disk rejection with referral. And what referral means, if you have a good manuscript but you submitted it to the wrong journal, the editor might make a referral or a recommendation for you to submit to a different journal. And in most cases, that journal is going to belong to the same publishing agency. And also in most cases, it might be an open access journal. So that's the most prevalent, referral type. If you did a better job and you convinced that the editor that your manuscript could be published, then the editor is going to pass it to reviewers, so it's going to be reviewed. And then if the reviewers find major concerns and maybe you used unsuitable material or method, and these errors are the reviewers might show a unanimous rejection decision, then the paper is going to be rejected. The editor is gonna reject the paper. And in this case, you will try to improve it and submit somewhere else. You cannot submit back to the same. What if I don't agree with the decision? Then you can write an appeal letter explaining why you think they should have considered it for their journal. But again, in most cases, I would recommend you moving on and trying to submit somewhere else. If you did a better job than that, and you actually wrote a publishable manuscript, then the editor will pass it to reviewers, so it's going to be reviewed. If they find major concerns, maybe you need to provide additional data, which is something that is correctable. You can do it. They think you can do it, but they think it's going to take you some time. Then they might reject or maybe accept with major edits, which is or a split decision between the two. But in any case, if the editor decides that no, it takes time, we need to take this paper off our database, then the decision is going to be rejection with resubmission recommended, which means that you will need to resubmit a revised version, which is going to be considered as a new submission. However, be aware that most likely it's going to go to the same reviewers. Even if you think otherwise, in most cases, the resubmitted manuscripts after rejection goes to the same set of reviewers. If you actually wrote a good quality research that the editor passed to reviewers to review, and they find some major concerns, maybe you need to provide additional data or do additional analysis or something like that. That's something that is correctable, but it could be corrected quickly. In this case, you might receive unanimous acceptance, or maybe a split decision between accepting with major edits or rejecting. However, if you are receiving this decision, that means the editor is accepting it. In this case, the paper is considered accepted initially, pending major edits. That means you need to do those major edits. You address the concerns, resubmit on the same submission. So this is the first stage where your paper is not, the resubmission is not considered a new submission. So here it's like a follow-up submission, or they call it a revised version. And again, it's assigned to the same reviewers. If your paper is a really high quality paper, that means it's going to be reviewed. They might find some minor concerns. They are correctable. They can be corrected quickly. Then you might receive some unanimous acceptance from all editors. From all reviewers, or maybe a split decision between minor and major. But if you receive this decision, that means the editor is for minor decision. That's why he took that decision, or she took that decision. In this case, you get a chance to review the manuscript and address these minor concerns, and then it goes back as a resubmission to the same reviewers, and usually it gets back to you quickly. After passing through this stage, then your manuscript is going to be in the highest quality with no concerns at all. That means you will receive unanimous acceptance. Sometimes reviewers say, okay, I accept with minor edits and I don't need to see the manuscript if they address these concerns. So sometimes even it's not going to be reviewed. And in this case, you will get the final acceptance, and the manuscript is going to be moved to production. So these are the different types of decisions, and why you receive them and what exactly you should do when you receive them. The key advice about the peer review process, especially when you respond to reviewers, is you need to appreciate their comments. The review process and the editorship are voluntary appointments, so people are not paid to do those. So they have some limited time they devote for such roles. They are doing it voluntarily. So we need to be appreciative of their effort. The comments are meant to improve your manuscript. So if you receive a lot of details or detailed feedback, that means you are lucky. You are lucky. That means you had someone who had enough time to help you make your manuscript valid, more readable, and more useful. And we should show clearly our appreciation of their comments. And let's take some detailed advices here. When you receive the comments from the reviewers, you should respond to those comments objectively. So don't attack, never attack, discuss comments. Never attack comments, never attack reviewers. You need to discuss ideas, not the personality. You need to discuss ideas. Be appreciative, start everything with thank you. Every comment, thank you for the comment, thank you for the recommendation. So if you agree with the comment, you start, the suggested edit has been implemented or something like that. What if you agree? If you don't agree, okay, thank you for the recommendation. The authors considered the recommendation. However, we suggest an alternative, which is that for the following reasons, and then you put your reasons. And even in this case, you open the door for a discussion with reviewers to say, please let us know if you agree with our conclusion or with our recommendation. To make sure that you and the reviewers are working together towards making the manuscript better. It's not a fight, and it's not a matter who is right and who's wrong. We're trying to reach the best case for, and we're trying to deliver the message in the best shape possible. So even when you disagree, you need to show appreciation. Be patient, especially during this pandemic. As you know, scientists can contract coronavirus too. So it means the number of scientists in your field that are available to review your manuscript are lower than normal, which means finding reviewers is going to take longer. And also because most scientists in this era are switching their courses from in-person teaching style into the online teaching style. That means they are busy doing other things, and because review process, the review process is voluntary, as we talked about before. Things are taking a little bit longer during the pandemic. And in this regard, I want to share a case study with you. And this was something that one of the participants in the previous sessions shared with us. That person submit their manuscript to a journal, and after 1 month, they rushed the editor to take the decision. And in this case, you would, I feel like now what is going to be the editor's feeling. The editor is going to feel like their efforts are not appreciated, which is not good for you. Let's say if the editor has a 50-50 chance of accepting or rejecting, if you are such a person that doesn't appreciate others, if the chances are 50-50, you wouldn't think they're going to choose the 50 that are in your side. People do more for you and give you more when they feel appreciated. Another advice is respect the rules of peer review, and also ask others to respect them if they don't. For example, in the previous case, not only did the author rush the editor, but they communicated that to the publisher. So they were not using the appropriate communication channel, which is corresponding author, editor, or editor subject area editor. So the corresponding author was contacting the publisher directly, which is perceived as a complaint, and it is perceived as that person is complaining about the editor is not doing their job, which shouldn't be the case. As we talked before, the editor, subject area editor, and the reviewers, they're all colleagues. If you don't know them, they know you. So don't be rough on them. And in this case, the publisher passed that to the editor because he or she is the one that is supposed to handle it. And then the paper was rejected. I cannot say it's because of that, but at least I'm sure if the chances were 50-50, I wouldn't expect the editor to pick the 50 that is in that person's side. So be patient, be appreciative. And also if you see someone is communicating outside of corporate channel, like the viewer is communicating you directly. Maybe be a collaboration opportunity on a follow-up study or something like that, while your manuscript is still under review. This is something that's not good. This isn't a good sign. This isn't a good sign. Some people might perceive it as a quid pro quo, as if, okay, collaborate with me on a follow-up study, and maybe your manuscript is gonna receive a good review or something like that. And if you are reviewing a manuscript, be careful. Be careful. Do not communicate directly with the corresponding author or any of the co-authors, especially if the process is single blind or double blind review. Also need to respond objectively to all comments, and I mean every word in this sentence, all comments. And the response should be returned in the appropriate format. So if they require a table with the reviewer's comments and your response, it should be a table. If they require a manuscript with track changes active, with you responding inside the manuscript to every comment, you should do so. If they require both of them, you should do so. Also, respond to the major comments and the detailed comments. Respond to both of them in your response. And I have a case where a colleague of mine received a decision of major edits requested, and in the email the editor mentioned 3 reviews, but in the attachments my colleague found only 2. So if you see something that doesn't add up, inquire about it. Ask about it. Ask whom? Ask the editor. Simply ask the editor. Simply. Okay. So in this case, my colleague wasn't sure if this was a missing review case where the editor forgot to attach the third reviews from the third reviewer, or this was a typo where the editor was writing the email. So he called me and he said, you know what, I finished all the reviews and I'm ready to submit, but I'm hesitant on doing so. I'm not sure if the editor actually forgot to attach the email, or if he or she wrote that number by mistake. And he asked my advice. I told him, well, you know, if I were in your shoes, I would email the editor. You know, it's not going to hurt you, and this is a yes or no answer very quickly. So he did. He followed the advice, and he emailed the editor, and he received a quick email with a big thank you, a big fat, ginormous thank you from the editor, because it wouldn't have been nice if he or she ignored that third reviews, and the reviewer actually received the manuscript, a revised manuscript without the reviews, and the editor attached the reviews, and the rewards were actually great. Because my colleague called me back and he said, you know what, third reviews that we were missing were the most thorough reviews of all 3, and they improved the manuscript dramatically. So it was a very rewarding case. In this case, there were a lot of messages that were sent there. First, if you deal with the peer review process as an opportunity for improvement of your manuscript, your manuscript is good. And he told the editor that he is doing everything he can to improve his manuscript. So the decision came back quickly with minor, edits, and then it followed with acceptance, full acceptance, which was really good for don't fight with reviewers, even if you don't agree with them on something, because no winner in such a fight. Fights between authors, co-authors, authors, reviewers and editors and co-authors. No fights there are gonna be good. No fights at all. This process should be a fight-free, a fight-free process. If you have something, if you see something conflicting, then convey it in a good language, in a good manner, with good intentions, and be careful with your written language, because sometimes when we write something, it feels tougher than what we feel about it. And if you don't start your responses with thank you, if your response might be perceived as a tough response or a normal response, especially with the difference in culture, and especially if you're not a native English speaker, the thank you might be the only thing that differentiates between the two types. They will say, okay, no, this person is a nice person. They start with everything with a thank you. They must mean the good meaning. But if you don't have that thank you and you are starting an argument, it might feel tough and it might feel harsh. And the case study here is from one of my colleagues too. He was part of an international collaboration on a manuscript, and they sent their manuscript to a prestigious journal. Few months later, they received a major rejection, a rejection with major edits requested. They applied them. They submitted a revised version. Then they received a rejection decision with a lot of criticisms to some of the things that they were recommended to do in the previous round. And instead of communicating that calmly with the editor and maybe showing why they applied those recommendations and how now we have the co-authors, the first set of reviewers side, and the new set of reviewers alone in one side, which means that they have a strong case. They can say, okay, we are peers. We, the co-authors, are peers. The first set of reviewers are peers. So that's a bigger group of peers, taking one side, and the new set of reviewers alone are on the other side. And then here is why we think our manuscript shouldn't have been rejected. At least we should have been given a chance to respond. And instead of writing something like that, they wrote a harsh email to the editor, blaming the editor using inappropriate language. And as you know, it was a big fight. Actually, my colleague tried to stop it, but he was the most junior co-author there, so he couldn't stop those giants from clashing. And as you know, the result is unnecessary fight. No one is gonna win out of that fight. No winners there. No winners there. And I can provide a long list of reasons why no one is gonna win out of that fight there. But for the sake of time, I know you guys know those reasons and even more than that. Always think win-win when you deal with reviewers and editors. Switch rules. Try to think from their perspective. Try to think what they are trying to accomplish, why they are responding the way they are. What can you do to help them help you? Because when you help them do their job, that means you're helping yourself, because their job is to help you eventually. And in this case, I have a very interesting case also from a colleague of mine. That person had submitted a journal. It was a good journal, but it wasn't highly ranked. That person submitted the manuscript there. It stayed there for a long time. And he used to send like an email every like couple of months, 2 months, maybe 6, 7, 8 weeks, to remind them. And each time they say, well, we're having hard time finding reviewers. We're having hard times finding reviewers. And he was approaching his promotion, and he needed that manuscript to be published. So around like 10 months, he wrote an email, and he received the response that, you know, we have communicated, we have invited so many people, and we only have one reviewer. 2 months later, which marked a year after the initial submission, he was ready to move on. So he wrote to the editor saying, you know what, I really appreciate your time trying to find reviewers. However, I am approaching my promotion, and I really need this manuscript to move forward. Thank you. So these are nice, fine things to say. So the subject area editor did not respond. Actually, the editor-in-chief responded in this case. The editor-in-chief said, okay, the subject area editor contacted over 40, sent over 40 invitations, and we have for reviews, and we only received one. We know that you are under time pressure. If you would like to, be patient and stay with us until we find an additional reviewer, that's okay with us. However, if you would like to withdraw your manuscript because of your time limits, we really appreciate your patience with us over the last year. And now the email, the decision was my friend's or my colleague's decision. He called me and he said, you know what? I received that email and I talked to that person, and we agreed that I should punch the editor in the face. And where do you think I should, the punch should be, in the nose or in the eye? So he already had an email ready to be sent written in a very harsh language. And I knew that person was in rush to get promoted. So I told him, you know what? Let's think win-win. What do they need to do? What are they trying to do? They are trying to get another review. Let's think of a way that makes them find that second review. Instead of fighting with them, let's think how to help them do what they want or what they need to do. So we came up with an advice to the editor to see, or a recommendation to the editor. We told the editor, okay, we really appreciate your effort and sending that many invitations throughout an entire year. So now they feel they are appreciated. And then we said, okay, we actually believe that your journal is the right vehicle for this paper to be published with the appropriate group of intended readers. And we refer to a sentence that the editor said in the email. the editor said that this research is in a very specific research point that we had hard time finding reviewers for. So we used, instead of using that as a criticism, we used it as one of the strengths of the papers, so of the manuscripts. So we said, okay, because this research is in a very specific research topic, we believe that finding a reviewer to review the paper is very good. Is very good. That's quite important. And we inferred from the reviewer's message that the review that they had is positive. Otherwise, they would say, well, we had only one review and it's negative, rejected. But we were sure that review must have been very good. Otherwise, they wouldn't have waited and tried that many times. They said, well, you have a review from someone who is in that very specific area of research. Why don't you assign the subject area editor to review the paper? Because, and then you as the editor-in-chief take the final decision. So in this case, the editor-in-chief cannot say no, because that means the subject area editor shouldn't be the subject area editor. Otherwise, why you assign that paper to? So the subject area editor is the closest in the journal, in the editorial board, to that area of research. In this case, that person should be able to provide a review if we cannot find someone that is more specialized. In this case, if you accept these two reviews, you, the editor-in-chief, can decide which is within his authorities. And otherwise, we are okay of withdrawing the manuscript. A few hours later, the manuscript status changed from additional review assigned, which is good. That means the editor accepted our advice. Then 2 days later, we had he had a minor edit requested decision, which is very good. A week or so later, he after submitting the revised version, he woke me up like 1:30 a.m. Calling me saying that, what, the paper is accepted. I wasn't following the story, so it was a complete surprise, but it was a very nice one. So being patient and thinking win-win is very good for everyone. The paper has been accepted in the same journal, and what makes things even better is that this year the impact factor, the ranking of the journal for the 2019, which is the year in which the manuscript has been published, the journal has been moved to the Q1 category, which is very, very rewarding. I don't know how would he feel if had he withdrawn the manuscript from there. So not only it was published in the journal, and the journal's ranking moved into the Q1, which is again a very rewarding situation. So these are the advices that we need to have in mind when we navigate the peer review and when we respond to reviewers. The production stage. Once your manuscript is accepted, then it is moved to the production phase. And by production, from now on, everything is not done by scientists. I mean, from the journal's point of view. Because it's meant to handle the accepted article by the production department, which means they're going to look at the typos and how to switch that submitted manuscript into the online an online friendly format, and to move it forward. So the revised manuscript is going to be accepted by the editor. From now on, it's going to be called accepted article. It's going to be copy edited by a typist, someone who's going to maybe from the IT department there, who's going to try to transform it to the printable format that has all the fingerprints of the journal. They're going to prepare uncorrected proof that will go back to the authors to be corrected for any things that they want to correct. Then it's going to be called corrected proof. It's going to go back to the typist. The typist is going to make sure that everything looks okay. From now on, it's going to be called corrected final proof. That will be passed by the corresponding author for final approval. And that's the last chance for you to make any changes. Once it is approved by the author, it's proof ready for publication. That proof ready is published online first. And then when the issue is compiled, it's going to be published online. And it's going to be the same version is going to be published when the issue is printed. The accepted article, the uncorrected proof, and the article published online first. These three are called the versions of record. Besides the online published version and the printed version that will be published eventually on paper if the journal is still printed. So this is the what we call the production review. And as you see here, we have no scientific revision in this case. That's why we don't call it peer review. We just call it production review. With this, your paper is published. Congratulations, you've made it. But be aware that having your manuscript published doesn't mean that it's not going to be reviewed by peers. Because actually, when we see published papers, we are supposed to review them and to discuss them in our papers. Show what we agree with and what we don't agree with. And if we see something wrong or something that doesn't add up, we should communicate that maybe with the co-authors, maybe inquire. You said that in your manuscript, what do you mean? Maybe I misunderstood it. Or this wasn't clear in the material and method. Have you done this step? Have you checked against this particular error that could have happened in a similar case? And these stuff. So we could communicate directly with the authors. If we see something that we don't agree on, we could follow up with follow-up studies to approve or disapprove what we don't, what we question, I mean. Or if there is something really serious, we could bring that up to the editor by writing a letter to the editor. In this case, you know, the editor reviews the letter, and then if they agree with the letter's content, they publish the letter alongside the paper. So whenever someone sees the paper, the journal makes sure that you see that letter too. In this case, that automatically grants the authors the right to respond with a response to the editor to be published too. Now you have the initial paper, you have the letter to the editor with criticism to the paper, and then you have the response to that letter. And sometimes this cycle continues until the editor thinks that that's enough, and people now have all the details and they can decide for themselves. And actually, in some cases, I've seen people actually review their articles post-publication and correct them themselves, and in some cases retract them. And I know of a case where the author was a Nobel laureate. So that person was a very was a very known name in the career, and they have received Nobel Prize. So and they had no problem at all retracting their paper because they themselves identified an error there and they corrected it. And I've seen cases where people were published the wrong version of tables or figures, and they corrected the paper themselves, and those people were recognized for their scientific contribution nationally across the United States after that incident had happened. So it's okay to correct mistakes when they happen, as long as they happen in good faith. So that means the peer review process is slightly bigger than what we think. With this, congratulations! Not only you have started the journey, but you're almost there, close to that top of the mountain. So what do we need after we have our paper published? We need to make sure that our paper is gonna deliver its impacts. So whatever the reasons that we started with for publication, we need to make sure that we fulfill those dreams, that we satisfied those objectives, that we really made a difference. So if you remember the first session when we talked about graduate students trying to publish because they want to fulfill the requirements for the graduate schools and to showcase that their scientific writing is quality assured. Well, if you have a manuscript, make sure that you show that. If you remember that we said that some people need to publish because they need international publication to apply for prestigious grants, then get applications. Don't stop there. Go ahead and apply for those grants and get your lab more money and attract more students to do research in your lab. You know, let the funding agencies know that you already published research out of your project, and now you have met payments. So now they can feel like they can show that the projects they fund with the public money actually produce publications that can inform the public to complete their circle, where they receive money from the public, but also they generate knowledge to inform the public. Now you can show that you conduct some very high quality research. Not only you can conduct it, but also you can publish it and can make it available to everyone. And it would be nice if you have chosen a public agency that cares about the quality of your research rather than the impact factor of the journal in which you have published. And as we talked before, CABI is a very good example of those publishing agencies. You could show, you could use your published paper to inform the public and to improve people's lives by sharing your results and making sure that what you have learned from your research is communicated to the public, communicated to those who needs it to improve their lives. Also, you can probably include maybe an abstract in your local language if that is suitable, or maybe you can write a brief or a blog or a Facebook post, or maybe talk to a local news journal that would cover your research to make sure that people who don't have access to scientific research can still learn about your published research in their own language. And definitely use the publication to support your self-branding and to glorify your scientific self-branding status. Make sure that your publication is reflected in your Google Scholar account, your Scopus account, your ORCID account, and that every publication that you have published is listed there, alongside the citations too. Share the news on different, let's say, scientific social media platforms, if we can call them this way. Kudos, ResearchGate, Academia, Loop, Publoans, and so on. Make sure that you share those. You share your published papers there to help your peers, learn more about them and probably follow you and follow your future research. And we agree probably that the most important part of publishing, both nationally and internationally, is making sure that the knowledge is accessible to everyday people, especially around you, especially people around you who don't have access to newspaper, maybe scientific journals, maybe even don't read at all. You can prepare a short YouTube video about your recent publication and share it in your Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it in your YouTube channel, send it to family members, post it on Facebook, celebrate your success in publishing, feel happy about it, celebrate it, and give others a chance to celebrate you too. Our families, our friends, our colleagues, our neighbors, our students, our professors and advisors and mentors, and they deserve celebrating our success with us too. And I share that on YouTube, Twitter, maybe Facebook, LinkedIn. You give them the chance to celebrate your success with you. And if you wanna be more professional about it, maybe get SciDev.net to have a recorded meeting with you. Maybe they can prepare a video about your research, or maybe they can write an article about your research. Maybe share it with people all across the world. As I told you previously, SciDev.net section last year received 100 million views to research there. That means you were able to reach. With that, I think we successfully to the end of our journey with international publication. I really thank you all for with us. I know that some of us are still sharing with us.
Thank you.
Umayma, I believe. So if you have any questions, I'll be more to answer them. Ibrahim, do we have are we intending to see them today?
Ibrahim, thank you very much for this great presentation and the last part of the series. Can you all hear me properly?
I'm sorry, Ibrahim, I didn't hear you last sentence.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well, Ibrahim. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Said, for this. It's really nice. So we have one question for you. Is it possible, please, to write your full name, your institution, and your email address in the chat box. If you do write that, we will send you a certificate for your attendance. If you don't write, I'm afraid we won't be able to provide you with the certificate. So I repeat in one message, thank you, Ali. So your name, full name, your institution, and your email address, and we'll be able to send you a certificate.
That's for all participants. Yeah, that's for all participants.
Yeah, all participants, which I understand and say it. Most of the people who are here, they have attended the training before. So I think I don't want to make it boring for them when I go through the web demo again of the CABI databases. I'm just going to give them if they have any questions. We have about 34 people, and I can see people are writing their names. We'll be waiting for people to put their names into the chat box, and I collect that in a minute. Last thing is, if you have another question, so as Dr. Said is with us, we can answer any of your technical questions about the presentation or about CABI generally. If you have any problem trying to access CABI, please put me a text for me, I can help you.
Yeah, and again, please put the name and the institution all in the same message, so we don't lose them in the chat section.
Correct. So we let you. So you didn't have a certificate for last session. Can you explain why, Abdul Majid, you will with 3 sessions together? So you get a certificate 1 and 2 and 3 together. We'll do them at once when we get them ready. So after finishing today, hopefully by end of next week, you will get your 3 certificates.
And please put the responses, put your details for everyone, so Brahim and others can see them. Don't respond to my messages with your details, because they're going to be just for me. Please make sure that you are writing your message to everyone, so everyone can see it. Especially Reem, I believe, maybe. I'm not sure if someone else sent me their details to me privately. They should be for everyone, so Brahim can see them.
So the message should be to everyone, so it can be copied.
Yeah, because couple of people send them to me, address the message to me privately. Please make sure that they are for everyone. I can go back to the names and try to tell who exactly. Hafsia, أعتقد, I think, and maybe Reem.
So I can see so many people from Tunisia. You can access CABI via the Knutst, like I showed you last week. You go to Knutst platform and use CABI. If you want to use it from home, ask your librarian or head of studies, directeur des études, to give you the login details for your institution, and you will have access to the content from your home.
Yeah, and if you don't have a question to share with me, and if you have a comment or an advice, please don't hesitate to share those with me too. If you don't want to share them to everyone, at least share them with me privately if you want to. Again, I really appreciate your time and you all being here with us throughout this series. My email address is here if you would like to email me with any advices that you might have for me, any areas of improvement that we could make for future sessions. That would be really appreciated. And again, if you have any question about the presentation, the content, CABI, we're here to answer them. Next week, we are gonna start the proposal writing. series. It's 4 sessions in a row every week, like we did with the navigation of international publication. It is a very interesting set of sessions. It is intended to help early career scientists and researchers to write proposals, especially those who are just starting and have limited experience with grant writing. And also because we, in this case, we're moving more towards the more postdoctoral stage in the career, it tends to be more open for discussion and for sharing experiences and knowledge. So I hope you will like it, and also you will have a chance to share your experiences too. I hope some of you at least will find this useful, and I hope you will enjoy it if you join us starting next week.
I'm sure going to be interesting, and it will be good.
If you missed any of the publishing of Navigation International Publication sessions, it's going to be offered again after 4 weeks. So please feel free to come back and join us. I know each time we take things one step further. So probably, Ibrahim, this time you might have seen some slides and some content that we haven't had.
Yeah.
2 rounds, and I promise
Yeah.
next round is gonna be the same. We're gonna have we're gonna add some more sweet stuff for you to use.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, Sayed, again, and I'll just give it another minute if anyone hasn't put his name and full name, and then
so much.
Then I will close the session.
Yeah, thank you, Ibrahim, so much for organizing these series and for your great efforts for the entire region. I really appreciate what you are doing, and thank you all so much for being here with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sayed. Thank you. Have a great day.
Same to you, Ibrahim. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Ibrahim, I have some requests for the presentation. Please email me on amashahit@cabi.org if you need the handouts for the slides. Please email me if you would like to receive the handout.
Thank you.
I received a couple of requests privately. So now they are for the invitation is open for everyone. My email is presented to you if you would like to receive the handouts. And thanks again. And please spread the words if you think that these sessions might be useful to your students, to your colleagues, to someone you care about. Please let them know that we offer them. And just your feedback about the sessions if you think they are they might be useful to them. So please send me an email directly so I can respond to your email directly with the content. Please do not just request that on the chat section, because in the chat section I don't have your contact information. So if you send it to my email, I will have the chance to respond to your email with what you are exactly asking for. So please email me directly if you want to receive the handouts. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sayed. Bye now.
Bye.